I want to thank the Congressional Black Caucus for hosting this event. I want to thank the co-chairs of this year's conference, U.S. Representatives Karen Bass of California and William Lacey Clay of Missouri. Black Lives Matter. Racial crisis is flaring all around us, whether it's social media, shopping malls, or post-secondary schools. However, we will not back down in the face of injustice or ignorance. We demand freedom, justice, and equality in this country. And with that, I state, Black education matters. Now go hashtag that. Let's see if we can get that trending on Twitter. The most important endeavor for any society is the education of its youth. Roughly 65% of all jobs on the market will require some education after high school by the year 2020, according to a study by Georgetown University. The black unemployment rate is twice that of our white counterparts, according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. Therefore, college education for our black students is paramount. That is why now, more than ever before, we must demonstrate our support for affirmative action. Affirmative action is not simply the belief that we will hand out to people who are not deserving of a particular slot in school or a job. It states that with the competition of relatively equal candidates, the opportunity can be given to the historically underrepresented minority. This policy acknowledges that society prevented the flourishing of an entire group of people in the past, and now seeks to have a more just society through this legal instrument. This rule of law directly counteracts decades of state-sponsored racial discrimination, aids in the closing of the wealth gap, and promotes diversity, preparing our students for an increasingly diverse workplace. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy issued an executive order instructing federal contractors to enact affirmative action to ensure that applicants are treated equally without regard to race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. And there it began. Federal recognition of the economic disparity between whites and minorities. In the following decade, other landmark laws were enacted, such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which outlawed all discrimination. Affirmative action has been challenged in the courts on numerous occasions. In 1978, Alan Bake, a white applicant, was denied admission to the medical school at the University of California. This particular university used minority quotas to promote diversity. Their quota system held a certain amount of slots specifically for minority students. Bake sued the school, citing the Civil Rights Act, the Equal Protection Clause, as well as the 14th Amendment. The case made it all the way to the Supreme Court, and the court found the quota system unconstitutional. While quotas are well intended to atone for past discrimination against minorities, the race of an applicant cannot be the primary reason for admission or denial. The court also found that affirmative action itself is constitutional when race is considered as a plus alongside many other factors. The Bake case set precedent for all other courts to follow regarding affirmative action and the design of admission programs. Other major cases followed suit, such as Grutter versus Bollinger in 2003, or even this very year in Fisher versus the University of Texas. The highest court in the land, time and time again, has recognized that universities have a compelling interest to promote diverse student bodies And their plight of diversity is supported by the rule of law. College enrollment for black students has increased by 57% since 1980, according to civilrights.org. Affirmative action works, yet it is under constant attack. A great deal of Republican politicians and Supreme Court justices believe we live in a post-racial meritocracy, in which affirmative action is no longer necessary. These powerful figures make their arguments on a public forum, swaying the view of the American public. For instance, Justin John Roberts famously said, "The way to stop discrimination on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race." More clearly stated, Justice John Roberts used a colorblind theory where it is favorable to ignore race. Justice Clarence Thomas compares affirmative action to slavery and sees no benefit in racial diversity. This rhetoric bolstered bans on affirmative action in several states by way of referendum. Bans took place in California, in Michigan, and in Florida. And in each of those states, black college enrollment dropped by 5% in the year following the ban, according to a report by the New York Times. The answer isn't the colorblind theory that Justice Roberts suggests, or the misinformed position of Justice Thomas. The answer is to face our problems head on, with our eyes open, and apply the rule of law accordingly. If race functioned as a demerit for so many years, it must, at least for a while, function as a merit to take into account the obstacles placed in front of black people. Opponents of affirmative action also believe that the economic dilemma black Americans face today is their own fault. This misled mindset ignores decades of vicious systemic denial of opportunity. To accurately assess the present, we must include and understand the past. For example, in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, there's a place called Levittown. Federal agencies guaranteed loans to Levitt and Sons in 1952 to build homes in this community. The homes built in this community were affordable to both black and white families. However, federal housing and veteran administration policies required Levitt and Sons to deny black Americans access to these homes. White folks purchased these affordable homes and accumulated equity, which helped them pay for their children's education. These homes were then passed down through the generations. Black families were legally denied the opportunity to build generational wealth. In 2011, it was reported that while 73% of white families owned their homes, only 45% of blacks were homeowners. Labor reform was another government policy that inhibited the wealth building of black Americans. Minimum wage, Social Security, and collective bargaining reforms put forth by the New Deal excluded agriculture and domestic service jobs that a lot of black Americans had at that time. These policies have contributed to the economic disparity that we see today. White net worth is 10 times greater than black net worth, according to the Pew Research Center. Discrimination based on race is not simply a relic of the past. This discrimination is alive and well today. Racial bias exists towards women, minorities, and U.S. non-born employees when it comes to promotions and wage increases versus white males, according to an article by The Atlantic. In that study, resumes of applicants with white-sounding names receive 50% more callbacks than ones with black-sounding names. With identical resumes, Tom gets a call back, and Tyrone, his resume is tossed in the wastebasket. Simply acknowledging historical systemic discrimination is not enough. The disparities between black and white wealth are in part due to constitutional violations. Ergo, the rule of law should play a major role in remedying some of these issues. It is not just a matter of politics, it's a matter of principle. How can we reverse the state-sponsored bigotry that crippled the advancement of black communities? Affirmative action is the answer, because it works. It ensures that qualified minorities gain equal access to institutions of higher learning. It also begins to balance the scales of past injustice. Affirmative action is a race-conscious policy that opens doors that were previously slammed shut to black Americans for many years. The Supreme Court has consistently ruled in favor of affirmative action from its inception to this very year. A diverse student body prepares our future leaders for a growing global marketplace. Affirmative action is legal, it's just, and it works. I urge you, I implore you, and I entreat you to support affirmative action at every turn. I want you to get involved. I want you to demonstrate your support for affirmative action from the kitchen table to the classroom, from the barber shop to the Bible study, from your business office to the ballot box. Yes, I want you to vote, not just in general elections like this year. I want you to vote in local elections, municipal elections, state elections, and school elections. Make your voices heard when supporting that affirmative action works and black education matters. Thank you all.